We are a housing counseling agency. We help keep families and children in their homes. We are a 501c3 organization. As I said, we began in 1982. Our counselors are certified by HUD, by the state of Indiana, and by NeighborWorks America to offer our counseling. We are governed by a 15-member person volunteer board of directors, and we have 4 full-time staff and 4 part-time staff and lots of volunteers, and to the point where sometimes some of my friends aren't taking my phone calls anymore. But, that's part of running a not-for-profit. There we go. I went the wrong way, but at least I got it working. Okay. Our mission is to provide education and other resources to increase affordable, sustainable housing opportunities and financial stability in the communities we serve, and to be a catalyst for the development and revitalization of our neighborhoods. One of our biggest projects that we did 10 years ago now is the historic Jeff Center on 9th Street, which is senior housing, and that is one of my proudest projects we've done. Every time I go into it, it looks just like it did 10 years ago when we first did it, which can be unusual with a rehab project, but it's coming on 11 years now and stays 100% full all the time, so that's been really great for us. That's the part of where we do in revitalizing neighborhoods. Most of our projects right now are around education, and I'm going to kind of go into those into some details. Our vision for our community is that all families we serve be financially educated regarding housing, have the knowledge and skills to manage financial assets, have access to affordable housing, and live in safe, well-maintained neighborhoods. Our service area that we do is we serve families in danger of losing their homes. That's one of our biggest projects. We just announced last month, we have this thing since in 2008 when the crisis really hit the nation. Honestly, it hit our community in 2005, but in 2008, since that time, we have saved $100 million worth of homes from foreclosure. And this is all of our homes. We do 10 counties, so it's spread out everywhere. And we had a nice press conference with both the mayors and helping us make that announcement last month. So we're pretty proud of that. That's a lot of families, a lot of children that don't have to move. We also work with families wanting to purchase a home. And we work with low to moderate income homeowners needing home repair. We have a grant available to help with that. And we have seniors interested in reverse mortgage. And I'm going to talk about all these kind of a little more in detail as we go along. But we do lots of different things to help people stay in the house they own. Last year we began tenant education to help tenants stay in their apartment, because that is becoming an issue in our community too. We serve all incomes and all ages and all races, but over 80% of our clients are low to moderate income families. We do our education, as I said, we'll educate anyone. So even if you're a doctor and are doing really great with your life, sometimes you don't know how to do a budget. So, come on in and we'll talk to you about how to do that. We serve 10 counties, which is Tippecanoe, all the surrounding areas. We do Putnam County, which is kind of down there by itself, but we were asked by the state of Indiana to take that on because no one else was working with them. So we added that a couple years ago to our counties. Our foreclosure and delinquency counseling, it is still by far our largest program. Last year we served 293 people. Last year alone we saved $10 million in houses. What we do in that counseling is work with the client and the lender to come up with an equitable solution to both of them. We are the middleman there. We do not charge for this counseling. There are still people occasionally that come into me and have paid some random person $3,000 to save their home, and nothing has happened. So we work with them. They come in, they talk with our counselor, we help them understand what their options are, and those are different depending on what type of loan they have, what the reason is that they're behind in their foreclosure. A lot of the huge reasons we saw was unemployment. Now people pretty much are back employed, but any little crisis in their lives now is creating an issue because they've been unemployed for a long time. So now that they're back employed, everybody they owe is calling them and say, okay, I've been patient with you, now I need money, now I need this. And in order to save their home, most of our families have used all their savings account. They've used most often pulled out all the money in their 401ks if they had any, and their family and friends aren't taking their phone calls anymore because they've given them all they can. So now they have a medical issue, or their car breaks down, or just really anything that happens becomes an issue for our families because they are still living on the edge. There have been no studies about how long it's going to take people to really recover from the crisis, the economic crisis they went through. But if you were off work for 6 months, I can tell you by people walking in my office, it's going to take a lot longer than 6 months to get caught back up. So we are still struggling with that in our community. The data does say that if you're working with a certified housing counselor, which ours are, you are 1.7 times more likely to get a equitable agreement with your lender. The reasons for that is that we have access to the same person. Like when we call, we get the same person. When a homeowner calls, they get whoever answers the phone. We know what they're qualified for. When a homeowner calls, the person they got on the phone, they may have started work yesterday for all they know. You know, there's so many programs out there. And they're talking to the bank, and the bank's responsibility is to get that payment. Our responsibility is to get a fair agreement between the bank and the homeowner. And so so it's a different way that you look at things, and that's why we try to encourage people to come to us. Again, our services are absolutely free to the homeowner, so let us take that stress off of you and let us do that for you. So if you know anyone that needs that assistance, that is what that is still our number one program. As I said, since 2008, we've saved $100 million of homes from foreclosure. So that's a lot of people that we've helped, and that has really helped our community. Our second largest program, you may be very surprised to hear, is our reverse mortgage counseling. This is a program where if homeowners are 62 and older, it's an option for them. In all of our education programs, every education program, and particularly this one, what we do is we educate. We do not make decisions for you. We do not tell you what to do. We do not say, is this a good program or a bad program as a whole. Most programs that are available are good for somebody, but they are not good for everybody. So quite honestly, in our reverse mortgage counseling, probably 50% of the people that take the counseling say, "Ooh, that's really not for me." And so that's a good outcome. You know, that's what we want people to make good decisions based on information. The reverse mortgage program is complicated. It is a high risk for the bank, and so it's more expensive than just getting a regular first mortgage, but it has been used in our community to save people from foreclosure. We've had people come into our office that have lived in their home for a really long time. They've lived there maybe 30 years. They've had their job maybe 30 years. Suddenly they've lost it, or suddenly they're no longer able to work. They maybe have a home that's worth $100,000, they owe $10,000 left on it. You know, they've almost got there. But suddenly, because there's no income, they're waiting on disability, or they haven't yet figured out Social Security isn't going to be enough to cover all their expenses, they cannot afford that mortgage payment anymore. Well, if you go into foreclosure, that whole house is gone. And so everything's gone. If we can get them to find a way to borrow that $10,000, then we can save their house for them. So sometimes it works that way. And for a reverse mortgage, you don't make a payment. You get money from the bank. The interest does add up on it. And when you no longer own that property, when you no longer live there, rather you've moved out because you've gone to a nursing home, or you decide to go to Florida and you want to sell your house, that's when it's paid back. And so the homeowner needs to understand that if in their mind they're going to leave this house free and clear to their kids, that's not going to happen. And so we need to make sure people understand all of that. We very much encourage people to bring in their kids, their whoever they want to know what's going on. It's very important for us that they clearly understand that. So that is our second largest program. We do that for the entire state of Indiana because there are only 5 reverse mortgage counselors in the state. We're lucky to have one of them. And so that is a program that we do for the whole state. Our next program is our home buyer education. This is a fun program now that we've kind of talked about things that maybe aren't so fun. This program is we work with people that are interested in buying a house. We have 2 programs under here. We have one-on-one pre-purchase counseling, and then we have an 8-hour home buyer education class that people can take online or in person. In my personal opinion, I'm going to make this one statement. If we would encourage everybody to take pre-purchase counseling, we might not have had the mess we had before. Because people come in and honestly, the 8-hour class, most people take that because there is some grant money available occasionally that make you take it. And they come in and you can just tell, like, I don't want to be here. This is 8 hours of my life, blah, blah, blah. Every single time we have a survey that every single time someone says, I didn't even know that. I learned something today. This was really pretty good. I didn't know I needed to know that. And that's the thing. You know, this is your very largest investment probably in your life. For many people, you need to know what you're doing. You need to know what to ask, what questions to ask, and what downfalls there are. And our very first thing that we start in with all of our pre-purchase counseling is the pros and cons of buying a house. Home ownership is not for everyone. It might be that we can look at your finances and you got all kinds of money and you're going to be a perfect, on the page, homeowner. But in your mind, you're going to move next year because you want to go to Florida. You want to go to San Diego. Don't buy a house. You know, that is not a good solution if you're going to have to resell it in 1 year. And, you know, if you really, really, really hate being responsible for the furnace breaking down or the roof leaking, don't buy a house. Find a good landlord. You know, those are things that people need to think about before they become a homeowner. One really, really great piece of information I can give you, we've been doing this for lots of years. Before 2005, and especially when we had a lot of new construction going on in this community, people would call us and they would say, I got a house, I need to buy it, I'm going to buy it tomorrow, I need to come get pre-purchase counseling because somebody said I had to do that. Today, people are calling me and they're saying, you know, I'm thinking about buying a house next year. Can I come talk to you now? I'm like, yes, please, this is great. This is what we're looking for. And we're hearing that more and more. I just got an email just last night on our website. I'm trying to save for a house. Can I come talk to you now? And that is who we want. In my perfect world, we would get these people and we would work with them for a year or 2. That's okay because we don't charge them for that pre-purchase counseling because they really can't afford to pay it because it's going to take a long time. We do charge for our home buyer education, the 8-hour class, because by that time, if they're really going to be buying a house, they ought to have some money to pay for some education. And so, and they pay a little more attention when they have to pay for it. So we do that. It's not much, but we charge a little there. So, so that is important, I think, that if you know of anybody that's even thinking, maybe I want to buy a house, or maybe I want to see if I want to buy a house, have them come in and talk to us. Again, that pre-purchase one-on-one counseling is free, and we would love to do that. Some of our additional programs, and these are smaller programs. 2 years ago, as I said from my beginning, we work really hard with all the other housing agencies in town. And they came to me and they said, you know, you do this home buyer education, you kind of got it down, how to talk to homeowners, you know, potential homeowners, but we need something with the tenants. You know, we're having trouble, we're getting people in housing, our homeless prevention network is working pretty hard on that, but we can't get them to stay there. How do we do that? So a couple years ago, we had the good fortune of having a Purdue intern come, and we had looked around kind of on the internet, because I really like to borrow things that people have already done. Why do I need to invent the wheel? But there really was nothing out there that I saw that I liked. It was all come in and I'll talk to you for 5 minutes and tell you to read your lease and you go home. So we developed, with the help of this Purdue intern, an 8-hour class around tenant education. We are working to get people to take that. We're looking at various different ways. So this last summer, we got another student intern. Student interns have lots of energy, so that's really great. They broke our 8-hour class down to just a conversation around rights and responsibilities. That's one of the things we talk about in tenant education. And we talk about rights and responsibilities of tenants, and we talk about rights and responsibilities of landlords. And when I talk to landlords about this, I'm pretty clear about that we're going to tell them, well, you're supposed to be doing too. It can't all be one-sided, that you want the tenant to do all this stuff. You've got responsibilities too. And I talked to actually the landlord association, and it was very much behind it. They said, okay, we want to be good landlords too if we want good tenants. So we had several small 1-hour classes last summer around that. And out of that, some of the people that attended those are thinking of starting a tenant organization, just so that they can make sure that they know what's going on and that they know what to do. And so in Indiana, the biggest thing to do around your rights is to read your lease. There aren't a lot of laws in Indiana about tenant rights, and so you need to read your lease. You need to know what you signed and agreed to. So that is a program that we're still pushing and hope to see more use of. Lafayette Transitional Housing, which I know you're going to talk next week, they have entered into a memorandum of understanding with us so that the people that they put in housing get at least the short version of this education. So that is the way we partner together often. We also do post-purchase counseling, and this is for people that maybe want to refinance their home is one of our post-purchase counseling. I have found sometimes I have a good example of I'm just walking down the street, somebody comes up to me that knows what I do, and he's talking about he's going to refinance his house. Well, I knew that he wanted to move and that he had plans to move. And I said, well, what's it going to cost you to do this? And he didn't really know. I said, well, you need to figure out what the cost is, how much you're going to save. Can you make up that cost in 2 years, when you're going to move? He's like, oh, I never thought about it that way. And he says, can I come talk to you guys? Of course you can come talk to us. And so, there are times where even you've owned your home, things are changing now, and interest rates are really low and very attractive, but it seems like most people have gotten that kind of under control now that they've already refinanced. But there are things to consider even when you're refinancing, and so that is one of the things that we do. We also do Bank on Tippecanoe. This is to help families get back into conventional banking. So we partnered with the mayor, 11 banks, Mayor Tony, 11 banks, United Way, and we brought Bank on Tippecanoe to Tippecanoe County. We do the education. Families and individuals that maybe struggled in maintaining a checking account, maybe didn't really know what they were doing, kind of overdrew it enough that they got kicked out of the banking system. They come and we talk to them about that, and we have 11 banks and credit unions that will give them a second chance at a bank account. And that's really important because if you are kicked out, you sometimes can't even get a savings account. So you really need to be able to get back into the conventional banking system. And if you're going to really be able to maintain your housing, it's important not to be paying fees to somebody else. Let's go to the banks. The banks and the credit unions have agreed to either have no fee or zero fees, or, and most importantly for our families that live paycheck to paycheck, they don't have to keep a minimum balance in that account if they take our education. So that's been really helpful. We also have access to the hardest hit loans, which is one of the things that has helped us get these $100 million worth of homes sold. There is money available from the U.S. Treasury that we were able to get through our state. And if someone has had a hardship not made of their own, something that they didn't do themselves, if they got laid off, if they got a huge medical bills, and we actually have some money to help them get caught up on their mortgage and to help them get back, we can sometimes make the monthly payment. The goal of that is to stabilize our neighborhoods. We want homeowners to stay in our neighborhoods, and so what they do, they don't have to pay back the money, they have to agree to live there for 10 years. And so that gives them some time, and that stabilizes them. We also have some home repair grants available. Those come available usually in April, and they are for things like furnaces and water heaters, electrical, and with that we also have down payment assistance available. And both of these two programs, home repair and down payment, is for low to moderate income families, and that is a way to help them stay in their house. I want to talk about a new program that we just announced in December. Very excited about this program as part of us helping families make good financial decisions. We partnered with an organization in Fort Wayne, Indiana, and 3 organizations in the state of Texas to bring a new loan program to Indiana. It is called, we're going to be opening a community loan center. Our goal is to help people have a choice from payday lending. You may not know that payday lending in Indiana takes up $70 million worth of fees a year that families pay. The interest rate can be as high as 382%, which is what happens in Indiana. So, as I said, my first interest was my homeowners don't have a lot of money available to them. Unfortunately, they also don't have a lot of good credit left available to them. You know, they struggled. And I've been thinking about, you know, I do have grants available for the water heater and stuff, but what about the other day when 100 people got all their tires slashed? What about that? And, you know, what's happening when they just have a medical bill that they have to pay? What are they going to do? And, you know, unfortunately, their choice is usually payday lending. And so we were fortunate enough to get the 5 of us together. Chase had a grant application, Chase Bank. They gave us the largest in the nation. We got $5 million for the 5 of us. Our organization ourselves will get almost $1 million of loan funds. That's not operating money, that's loan money. We do have to match it. We have to raise another $500,000, which we have a great committee already working on that. And we can match that in lots and lots of different ways, and we have 5 years to do that, so we're just starting off on that. But our loan money will be available to families. We're going to be working with employers. We will sign up an employer, and then the family can get, it'll be a benefit to the employer. We will charge simply 18%, and we will give them, instead of 2 weeks to pay back this loan, which is what a payday lender does, we will give them a year to pay it back. Because what happens in payday lending is they borrow the money, it's owed in 2 weeks, and they don't have the money, so they have to borrow it again and borrow it again and borrow it again. And we want to give them a year because that's a reasonable amount of payment. Our maximum loan will be $1,000. So this isn't big money. This is small money for small emergencies. But while they're there, we're going to know who they are. We're going to have their name and their address. And we're going to be talking to them constantly about financial education. I came up with an idea to get people to financial education, which is sometimes a trick because we're not going to require it. We're simply going to encourage it. But my plan is to work with some of our local organizations and our local companies and get gift cards so that if they come to the education, they get a $20 gift card to Payless or somewhere. And that will encourage them to come, and I think they'll be very happy to do that then. Because once I get them to education, then I'm always hearing, that was really good. I didn't know about that. I didn't know I needed to know that. So that's our new program that we just announced in December. Very excited about it. We have a great committee working on getting that up and going. My coup in that committee, I don't know if a lot of you know Joe Seaman, who used to be the chamber president, took him to lunch so he couldn't tell me no. And so he's coming a little bit out of retirement to help me volunteer to get this up and going. So, which is great because he also knows a lot about lending. So that's a program that we are going to be offering that we're very excited about. And again, our goal is to teach people good financial education, help them maintain affordable housing, make sure that they know what they're doing when they either get their buy a home or even rent a home. We want to make sure they know what they're getting into, and that's kind of what we do for the community. I'd be happy to take any questions if there are any. This is what I get on financial education.
not always apparent what you do and what you do in terms of stabilizing neighborhoods and keeping things going. But you know, you've been doing it a long time, and through lots of different variances that happened and things.
Yes.
And so we really do appreciate that.
Thank you.
It's kind of like the Chauncey Hill neighborhood thing where they go in and buy homes to try to maintain the neighborhood and put homeowners' families in there. But you're doing that the same thing by keeping people in their homes, and that's just great.
Thank you, and thank you for mentioning New Chauncey, because we partner with them and we partner with Habitat. We do the education for both of those organizations, and again, that's how we all try really hard to work together in this community.
How many employees do you have?
Not enough. I have one housing counselor. I am getting ready to interview for a new one. I have a marketing person, and he has his job is marketing / fundraising. I have myself, and I have an administrative assistant. And then the rest of it I do however I can do it. I have a couple people through Harrison College, their work-study program, which is really great for a not-for-profit, because we only have to pay a small part of their salary, and they're young and excited to learn, and that's really great. And I use a program called Experience Works, which is to get the, quote, elderly back into the workplace, but that means 55 and older. So a lot of the people that I hire are younger than me, and they come in and, you know, they help me with my reception area and things like that. So that's really great. Again, volunteers. I just really will rely a lot on volunteers.
You're talking about personal finance here.
Mm-hmm.
In our high schools in Indiana, do they teach personal finance today?
Not a lot. It's not a class. Pardon me. Oh, the question was, do our high schools teach personal finance? I think they try. It's not a lot. We do. One of the things that's not on here, because it's just a committee I'm on, is the Money Smart Week. I don't know if you all know about Money Smart Week. When Laura Carson from United Way and I brought that here to Tippecanoe County. And it is a week worth of free classes and free seminars on how to do money. And when we saw that need about the kids, it kind of wasn't hitting. The last 3 or 4 years now, at least 3, maybe 4, we have had a special event on Saturday to work just with kids. I see Jeff here. We've used Purdue Credit Union is really helpful with that, and we've used some of their curriculum in order to do that. It's been nice because sometimes when you're talking to adults, you get this blank stare. And I thought, I want to teach kids. Maybe they'll listen to me. And the really great thing about this Saturday is that the parents kind of follow them around, and so they learn without having to admit they didn't know what they were doing. So we are trying to address that need in the community. We did, Money Smart Week has an essay contest every year, and through the state of Indiana. And last year, 3 of the winners for the essay contest were from West Lafayette High School. So we were pretty excited about that we got them at least interested in that part of it. So that was really great. But, you know, it's a struggle when, you know, my friend that volunteers for me every day and still talks to me is a retired teacher, you know, and there's just so much that they have to do now in teaching that other things it's not a lot of time for. So that, you know, we are trying to address that also, not, you know, with the community as a whole. Yes?
Most of your activities seem to be one-on-one
Yes.
with clients. Have you given any thought to working with larger groups, like evening classes with Laura, for example?
Mm-hmm. We do. We will go anywhere, and we actually a lot of our stuff is one-on-one because we have to get into their exact detail. My new person that I'm hiring, when they talked about it, her main job was going to be educational seminars, and she is going to be working, he, I don't know, it's always been a woman in the past, that's kind of sexist, I guess, but that's who applies for that job, it seems like. That person is going to be responsible for instance, with our tenant education, that's a group education class. Our home buyer education is a group education class. We did a senior financial education class wasn't well attended. So I want her to work with our marketing person to get those more attended, because we can at least get more information out there, and then people can come to us and say, I have this very specific issue, what do I do? And that would work tons better. And we have worked with Laura in the past to do that. So that, that's the hope. Yes.
How do people that have a financial problem know that your assistance is available?
Well, that's a good question. We try to market, but of course we're not for profit, so that money's really limited. Someone that has a foreclosure issue, it is state law in Indiana that when they are given foreclosure papers, they have to be told by their lender that HUD Housing Counseling Services is available, and here's the number you call. Now, in reality, most people, once they get to that point, aren't opening those pieces of mail. And so they really don't see it. So we try to advertise, and we try to, and thank you. I said I talk too much, and now he's helping me very much. Thank you. So it's word of mouth. Most of our clients come in because we helped their brother, we helped their uncle. That's why it's so important for me to get out to stuff like this, and for people to know that we're here, that our services are free for the most part, and that, send people to us, and that's what we do.
Before you go anywhere, this says Lafayette Kiwanis Club celebrating 100 years. It's an organizer assistant. You are clearly organized, so we hope that is.
I truly am not. So this is great.
Okay.
Thank you. I love this.
Thank you, Marie.
Thank you.
I do want to just highlight one or two things. Homestead Counseling Service is made an application to the Kiwanis Foundation either early last year or last year. And after reading through it, Jeff Love circulates all the grant applications. I actually called and said, would you mind if I came in and looked around and had a tour? And to which she said yes, because I was not available. In answer to the last question, how do they make their services known? It's by word of mouth. Everyone can use this information. So whether it's someone in this room, however modest or extensive your assets may be, a member of your family, one of your neighbors, someone in your church, it is extremely important. And there is a lot of emotional angst that goes with sliding to the precipice of not having housing and then falling off and having your house, your shelter, your home at risk. One of the earliest slides that Marie showed, it said 502 families served last year. If you can anticipate that 80 to 85% of those families had children, and the average family has about 2.4 children, that's saving 1,000 children a year from sliding into homelessness. That's the organization that the Kiwanis Foundation supports. The renters information. So we heard last week from Lori Mann that rent is a little bit higher than normal in this community because of Purdue. So rather than having children change apartments or change rental houses and change schools every year, the information with regard to rental assistance to stabilize renters that not only helps communities but helps the children in elementary school and in high school is extremely important. So I'm proud that this is the kind of organization that the Kiwanis Foundation supports. Thank you very much for your attention. And next week, we mentioned last week that Lafayette is one of the pilot projects, along with Fort Wayne, for rapid relocation. So the not having people go to payday lenders and saving that $70 million and being able to put it back into their family rather than to a private predatory lender's pocket is also important. That'll be the part of what we talk about next week.